I stepped out of my house that morning, gripping my coffee like it was the only thing tethering me to sanity before another Monday could unravel me. Then I saw Ida's shed, plopped right in the middle of my driveway like a tacky lawn ornament from a fever dream. For a split second I laughed, thinking it was some elaborate prank, maybe a neighbor's idea of a joke or a delivery mix-up gone wild. But then, as if the universe wanted to snap me out of it, I spotted her, a woman I'd never seen before, sporting a sun hat so massive it could have doubled as a picnic canopy. She stood next to the shed, arms crossed, nodding like she just unveiled a masterpiece instead of dumping an eyesore on my property. She caught my eye, flashed a smug grin, and said, "You'll need to park on the street from now on. This area's been reassigned for community use. HOA orders." I blinked, sipped my coffee, blinked again. This had to be a dream, right? A bizarre nightmare about sheds, HOA overlords, and losing my own driveway. But the coffee's heat was real and her words were even more absurd. I stepped closer, trying to process the scene. It wasn't a flimsy tent or a pop-up stall, it was a full-on prefab shed. Bolted down, painted, and draped in fake ivy. She'd even slapped a welcome mat out front. My driveway had been hijacked by someone who thought she ruled the suburbs. "I'm sorry," I said, forcing Sevoi Lighty. "But what exactly is this doing here?" "Oh, don't worry," she chirped, wavwaying me off like I was a clueless intern. "You'll thank me when we start organizing tools and paint for the neighborhood. This is the new HOA shared storage facility. I'm Linda, by the way, head of the HO. Linda. Of course her name was Linda. I didn't even know we had an HOA, let alone one with the audacity to build a shed on private property. I live in a cul-de-sac, not a co-op." But Linda wasn't just confident, she was radiating delusional authority. As I stared at her concrete monstrosity, she pulled a neon pink slip from her clipboard and handed it to me like she was knighting a peasant. "You're also getting a violation notice for obstructing a community project," she said, her tone so smug I could almost see it dripping from her words. "A community project?" I repeated, mouth dry, pulse spiking. "On my driveway?" Linda clucked her tongue. "Well, technically, the driveway's part of the shared frontage under HOA zoning, section 7.4, subsection C. Don't worry, I'm an expert. Best not to fight it." It took everything not to laugh in her face. First, my deed clearly states my driveway is private. Second, her HOA zoning was about as real as a unicorn convention. And third, she had no clue who she was dealing with. I took the pink slip, turned, and walked back inside without a word. No yelling, no arguing, not even a kick at her fake ivy. Because I knew something she didn't. Linda thought I was just another homeowner she could bully with her fake rules and clipboard drama. But here's the truth. I own this property. Not rent-own. And I also own the house she lives in. She's my tenant. And her lease has a very specific clause about unauthorized construction. I wasn't going to tell her yet, though. Let her dig her own grave. By lunchtime, the neighborhood was buzzing. Linda had posted flyers about her exciting new HOA community shed and announced a mandatory compliance meeting for Saturday. Neighbors were texting, some amused, others spooked. Apparently, she pulled stunts before apping about non-existent HOA rules, threatening fines for lawn gnomes, even trying to ban basketball hoops for visual disruption. But the shed? This was war. Later that day, I passed by it again to confirm it wasn't a mirage. Still there, still hideous. Linda had added a potted plant and a live laugh love sign. I wanted to torch it just to see her reaction, but I'm not that guy. I play by the book and lucky for me, I own the book. Then came the kicker. Sunday afternoon, a knock at my door. 2 cops, polite but firm. "We've had a complaint," one said. "A woman claims you're harassing her and trying to damage her property." I blinked. "Her property? You mean the shed she built on my driveway?" The other cop read from his notepad, half disbelieving. "She says it's HOA-approved shared property." I showed them my property lines, explained the shed was unpermitted, and said I could legally remove it. They exchanged a look, clearly stifling eye rolls, and AdVY said me to document everything and go through legal channels. No arrests, no action, just AdVY. Linda watched from her porch, sipping tea like she'd won round one. That smug smile again. She had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I woke to a megaphone blaring like a discount DJ at a block party. There she was, Linda, perched on a step stool by the shed, addressing a crowd of 3, a bored woman, a distracted teen, and her own yappy dog in a glittery vest. As HOA president, she declared, I hereby christen this the official neighborhood resource center. She taped signs on it, HOA headquarters and authorized personnel only. I half expected her to start handing out badges. By noon, she'd stapled notices to every mailbox listing rules. No grilling past 5 p.m., no garage bands without approval, no trash bins out before 7 a.m. My favorite? A fine for sarcastic lawn decor clearly aimed at my neighbor's middle finger gnome. Neighbors started texting me. Clara, a sweet older lady, wrote, please tell me she's powerless. I'm scared to water my plants. Another guy, Tom, sent a photo of a note Linda left on his car about offensive bumper stickers. She wasn't just targeting Mesh, was terrorizing the whole street with her fake HOA. But I stayed cool. I let her host her board meetings on my driveway, print her nonsense flyers, and issue her fake fines. I documented everything, photos, videos, screenshots. Meanwhile, I met with my lawyer, reviewed her lease, and pointed out the clause banning unapproved structures. He laughed. This'll be fun. Linda kept escalating. She added a plastic HOA badge to the shed, complete with a star that screamed dollar store craft project. She spray-painted arrows on the sidewalk to her office. One morning, she was pacing the block with her clipboard, noting whose lawns had too many weeds or whose porch lights were too bright. She started hitting me harder citations for an improperly coiled garden hose and, I kid you not, facial expressions inconsistent with HOA decorum. I couldn't tell if she was cracking or just leveling up. Either way, I waited. Then came Saturday's HOA mixer by the chef, folding chairs, a karaoke machine, and stale lemonade. 6 people showed up, mostly curious. Linda gave a speech about restoring order and protecting property values. It was almost impressive how seriously she took herself. But mid-speech, someone, probably a fed-up teen, hijacked the karaoke system and played a recording of Linda yelling at a kid for chalk drawings. This is vandalism. You're ruining morale, it blared. Her face turned crimson. She fumbled to shut it off, but the damage was done. People whispered, laughed, clapped. The mixer collapsed into chaos. Neighbors walking away muttering about her unhinged behavior. I stepped outside, leaned against my mailbox, and sipped my coffee. Linda glared at me like I was the final boss in her game. She stormed over. This harassment stops now, she snapped. You'll regret crossing the HOA. I raised an eyebrow. Linda, I said calmly, how do you enforce rules for an HOA that doesn't exist? The real one dissolved 2 years ago. No officers, no bylaws, no power. You made it all up. Her jaw dropped, but no words came out. For the first time, I saw doubt in her eyes. She wasn't untouchable. And I was done playing. By Monday, Linda hit her final phase. She rigged a motion sensor to the shed that screeched a robotic, "You're entering an HOA zone, vacate," every time I stepped outside. She hung an American flag, strung fairy lights, and set up a chair with a clipboard like it was a throne. She'd sit there daily, scribbling notes on dog walkers or open garage doors. I smiled every time I passed. She didn't know I'd confirmed with the city her shed was unpermitted, violating multiple codes. Or that her lease banned it outright. I had photos, documents, neighbor statements. I wasn't just planning a takedown, I wanted her fantasy to implode publicly. I called in a favor from a city planner friend, filing an anonymous tip about an illegal structure. 2 days later, a city truck rolled up. Out came an inspector with a clipboard and a guy with a GoPro. Linda swooped in, all smiles. Welcome to our community. I'm the HOA head. I can explain the shed's purpose. The inspector cut her off. Do you have a permit? Linda faltered. It's an HOA project exempt from no HOA is registered here, the inspector said. No permit, no compliance. We're inspecting. Linda waved her fake rulebook, but they ignored her, citing violations. No foundation, no ventilation, a fire hazard from an extension cord, and a space heater nailed to the wall. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as she unraveled. She pointed at me, yelling about harassment, but the inspectors didn't care. Then, predictably, she called the cops. When they arrived, one recognized me. You again, he said, half smirking. I shrugged. Didn't call you. Linda ranted about my hostile environment, but the officer shut her down. There's no HO. Stop calling us for fake disputes. The inspector slapped a red tag on the shed, remove it in 7 days or the city would. That's when I walked over, handed Linda an envelope and watched her open it. Inside was a lease violation and a 30-day EVY tie-in notice signed by meth landlord. Her eyes darted between the paper and my face. "You're the landlord?" she whispered. "Yep," I said. "And I've been patient. But this shed, your fake HOA calling the cops on me? That's enough." She deflated. The cops nodded approval. The inspector muttered, "Good luck," with zero sympathy. I walked back inside, feeling karma's warm glow. Linda didn't go quietly. She taped private property signs on the shed, scribbled "Shed rights are human rights" in marker, and posted flyers about unlawful landlord act EVY tie. She stood in her driveway with a bullhorn, shouting HOA try VY at passersby. Clara got a citation for offensive wind chimes. Tom was hassled for his lavender. She was spiraling, dragging everyone down with her. I stayed calm, calling code enforcement, my lawyer, and a demolition crew on standby. The officer sighed, barely listening as she ranted. I handed him a folder: lease, photos, neighbor complaints. "She's VYOLAT everything," I said. EVY tie-in's legal. He nodded. "This is CIVYL. Cooperate or it's worse." She still wouldn't quit. She barricaded herself in the shed with a broom handle and duct tape, hanging a "Do Not Disturb" HOA meeting sign. It was pathetic. That night, neighbors threw a Linda-free cookout in my yard. We grilled, laughed, and ate Clara's shed-shaped cookies. The next morning, demolition arrived. Linda screamed about constitutional rights, but the cops coaxed her out. The shed fell in 30 minutes: bangs, squeals, and a crushed welcome mat. Neighbors clapped. Linda stood on the sidewalk, shaking, her empire gone. She tried one last move: a lawsuit for emotional distress and slander. It was a mistypos fake HOA clauses. The judge tossed it in 5 minutes, warning her about frivolous claims. Outside, she glared. "You think you've won?" I smiled. "I know I have." She walked away, defeated. 3 weeks later, my driveway's quiet. No sensors, no flyers, no bullhorn. Clara's wind chimes are back. Tom doubled his lavender out of spite. Neighbors call me the landlord with grins. Tom gave me a Shed Slayer 2025 wine bottle. We toasted sanity's return. Then I heard Linda moved to an apartment with a real HOA: strict, no nonsense, anti-signs, anti-noise. She built a fake kingdom, and now she's stuck under a real one. I didn't gloat. Karma did the work. I posted the saga on Reddit, expecting a few laughs. It blew up thousands of comments. "She played HOA Monopoly and landed on jail," one wrote. Another: "Karma tastes better in your driveway." They're right. It's not just about the shed or the EVY tie-in. It's about entitlement meeting reality, patience winning, and consequences are revying with a quiet smile. My driveway's clean now. I sip coffee in peace, watching the sunset over wind chimes and mismatched lawns. No megaphone, no empire, just the sweet, silent echo of justice.